Now, for millions of devotees, the Kanwar Yatra is a sacred journey of faith. But once again, headlines are being dominated not by devotion, but by violence. Now, from Meerut to Lucknow and Haridwar, a series of incidents involving Kanwariyas are reigniting a familiar debate. Has one of India's biggest religious pilgrimages become increasingly difficult to police? In Meerut, a minor motorcycle collision snowballed into a clash in which police personnel were assaulted while trying to intervene. In Lucknow, a school van carrying children were vandalized after a road accident. And in Uttarakhand's Roorkee, a car was attacked after it allegedly struck a cover. Now, police have registered cases, made arrests, and stepped up security. But every year, similar incidents raise uncomfortable questions. Why do minor road accidents escalate into mob violence? Are antisocial elements exploiting a very important religious gathering? Or is it crowd management becoming an impossible task when millions of pilgrims are on the move? The government maintains that the overwhelming majority of Kanwariyas are peaceful devotees and that isolated offenders are being identified and prosecuted. Critics, however, argue that the law enforcement has often appeared hesitant, allowing some incidents to spiral out of control. Now, the Kanwar Yatra itself has transformed dramatically over the decades. What was once a quiet, barefoot pilgrimage has evolved into a massive, highly organized movement with motorbike convoys, DJ cars, as well as elaborate camps and heavy state security. Now, to discuss more on this, we have Vikram Singh, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh. Vikram Singh, the big question out over here is that, you know, this pilgrimage, which started off as a very small group and later started, people started to join into these pilgrimages, especially when it comes to Kanwar Yatris. I've seen when it initially was starting off, there are people who are so dedicated about it. They go barefoot, they are silent. There are groups in which they go, but now it is becoming too loud. A lot of them have these huge vans with loud blaring music. And then what happens is that they encounter the very people who are supposed to protect them and also ensure that laws followed, traffic is in place, the policemen who are supposed to in fact stop any kind of unruly behavior, but they get attacked because they are already in large crowds. Is it becoming very difficult to actually police this large pilgrim gathering right now?
Good evening. I would generally agree with all what you have said, and I've been a part of these arrangements. I've been DIG Meerut, Muradabad, and also since 1991 till I retired 2010, I've been a part of the management of the Kanwar Yatra. It is something that is very demanding. Passions run high, mental fragility is at its peak. I mean, even the smallest of provocation can lead to an altercation. That is why the police have to put their best foot forward, and all the arrangements are very elaborately rehearsed, documented, and mature and very senior police officers are deployed all across. You would understand it is not possible for the vehicular movement to take place. Therefore, the police have almost to be everywhere, which is not possible. So what they can do is to use technology. In my time, there was no drones, but today you have the luxury of CCTVs and the drone technology. But yes, you would say that there cannot be two standards. If anybody takes law in his own hands, you displayed two incidents. Both of them were despicable and best avoided. And in the case, my strong recommendation would be that law is unsparing, whether it is a Kanwariya or whether it is a victim. I think anybody who takes the law in his own hands and vandalizes a car, and the school children are in an absolute state of shock. I mean, the trauma will stay with the school children for a lifetime. The police are there with a sense of purpose to ensure that the Kanwar Yatras move and there is no disruption of traffic. And these ugly situations should never happen. I can see policemen standing there making videos. I think you should have intervened then and there and arrested those who were breaking up the car. But this did not happen. I would strongly recommend the
But
such police officer.
Vikram Singh, one of the biggest issues that a lot of policemen or personally I've spoken to also say is that sometimes they are in a group, and sometimes there's only one lone policeman who is looking at a large area, and the only thing that he has is a lathi in his hand, and then they have these huge groups coming in, and he alone is unable to control it because there is a sufficient lack of policemen out in that zone. So that is, these lone policemen are the ones who in fact become the victims of unruly pilgrims at times.
Yes and no. Just because they are alone, but no, because they're supposed to be mature and handled with tact and with a sense of purpose to appeal to the sense of religion and propriety and ahimsa. People who are able to be given them the lines, what they're supposed to repeat, appeal to their reason, logic, and be more close to the Almighty by practicing non-violence. This kind of conduct would move them away from the Shiva, because Shiva would certainly not like this, that his devotees are brutalized in this fashion. Therefore, we train the constabulary, the women constabulary, the officers to come out with something that will appeal to the conscience, appeal to their conscience, so that, I mean, even this can be a force multiplier. And in not one but dozens of cases, I have found that you choose your words carefully, tone carefully, and I think you will win the day. I do understand it is not possible for a single policeman to intervene in such a situation. We making a video perhaps for future reference and future evidence, but what he could have done was to intervene. In what way are you serving Shiva by being violent in this manner? Be more holy, be more close to the Almighty. Repeat Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. And I think this has worked wonders, because we have to train them. Obviously, this constable wasn't trained and wasn't briefed adequately. Therefore, he was just a mute spectator to what was happening.
Interestingly enough, you brought out a different act of policing, that is to appeal to the person, the conscience of the person as such. Basically, trying to say that be focused on what you are first engaged in, that is the pilgrimage itself, not to destroy the sanctity of that pilgrimage that you are taking up as such. But for that, the policeman also, in fact, probably needs to be, somewhere out there trying to understand or be part of that pilgrimage itself, in the sense that he understands the nuances of what that pilgrimage actually means.
That is what the briefing and training is all about. It is a very elaborate briefing and training, and pamphlets and handouts are given to constables to read out and see the philosophy of the Kanwar Yatra. The
Okay.
plainclothesmen who double up, not only as a police officer, but the plainclothesmen also are double up as pilgrims also. And they, on the other hand, take the sides of the public and try to convince the people, because coming as it does from a plainclothes person, woman, or a man, obviously would be more appealing and convincing than a person in uniform, because they would be on the same wavelength. Therefore, I would say that it is not something that is done overnight. It has to be practiced, rehearsed, and every word
Right.
that I'm supposed to speak has to
Right.
be rehearsed in a manner that it becomes a reflex action.
Right, right. Thank you, Vikram Singh, former DGP, Uttar Pradesh, for in fact speaking to News9 and giving us an overall perspective on this very delicate issue as well.